Now we're going to talk about factoring trinomials, and tri means 3. So really we're talking about 3-term expressions. So number 1, we are still going to look for our greatest common factor. When I look at p squared, negative 9p, and 20 in homework number 19, there are no common factors. So now we're going to think of a step 2. We used to do trial and error, but now we are going to turn this in to 4 terms. Then we will factor by grouping, just like we did in number 10. So, steps. Step 1, multiply the coefficients. So when we look at these squared things, we really are seeing ax squared plus bx plus c. So we're going to take a and c and multiply them. Don't take the variables. Okay, we're just looking at the coefficients. So we're going to multiply a times c. Then list all the factors of that product. Then add or subtract to make the b value, the middle term. So that's kind of in the generic term. So let's go ahead and look at this exactly. So in front of the p squared is a 1. So 20 times 1 is 20. So that's step 1, multiply a times c. Now I'm going to list all the factors of 20. And I'm going to do it very systematic. Yes, you should list them, because if you don't, the pair that you need will be the pair that you forgot. So now I have all of my factors. Now, step 3, I have to think about adding or subtracting to make b. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that negative 9 into 2 different numbers. So my p squared stay the same and my plus 20 squared the same. I want to rewrite negative 9 as 2 terms, and I'm going to use these numbers to do it. Now, if I dropped a negative on both of those, I get negative 21. If I made them both positive, I'd get positive 21. If I made one negative or one positive, I'd get plus or minus 19. So we have 4 combinations of every numbers. So 2 and 10, I get plus or minus 12, or I get plus or minus 8. 4 and 5, I get plus or minus 9. There's the ones I want. And if I want a negative 9, these both have to be negative. It does not matter what order you put them in. I like to, if I have a choice, I like to do the negative 1 second, but since these are both negative, I don't have that luxury. So I'm going to put a negative 4p and negative 5p. I still have negative 9. I have not changed the value of my expression. I've just rewritten it. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to group the first 2, and I'm going to group the next 2. Greatest common factor of p squared minus 4p is p, and that's going to leave p minus 4, plus, when your third term is negative, always factor out a negative. So I'm going to take out a negative 5. Negative 5p divided by negative 5 is p. 20 divided by negative 5 is minus 4. If you forget to do that, the world doesn't end. You will have the right, you see how these match at the back like I want them to? You'll have the right numbers, wrong signs. Then you just go back out and you factor out a negative. So now p minus 4 is my greatest common factor, and that leaves p minus 5, or plus a negative. If you FOIL that, you will end up with this as your answer. So let's go ahead and look at a bigger one. So first of all, greatest common factor. 6, 16, and 10 have a greatest common factor of 2. and that's going to leave 3a squared minus 8a plus 5. What if you forget to do that? Not a big deal. You'll just have to take it out at the end, and you have to deal with bigger numbers. So now, how do I rewrite this so that that negative 8 is actually two numbers? Well, I'm going to take 3, that's my a, times 5, 15, and I'm going to write all of the factors of 15 off to the side, and then I'm going to figure out how do I add or subtract them to make negative 8. Well, here I get plus or minus 16 or plus or minus 14. Again, if I do both negatives, both positives, or one of each. Here I get plus or minus 8 or plus or minus 2. Since I want that negative 8, if I have a negative 3 and a negative 5, I will make negative 8. Again, it will work no matter what order you put them in. So group the first two, group the second two, don't lose that plus sign in between, and don't lose that 2. That 2 has to stay out front. So greatest common factor here is 3a, and that's going to leave a minus 3a divided by 3a is 1. So you will always get two terms. You'll always get binomials in the back. Plus, greatest common factor here is a 5. Remember, if that's negative, you want to take out a negative 5. Negative 5a divided by negative 5 is a. 5 divided by negative 5 is negative 1. Then, just like I want, a minus 1 and a plus a negative 1, those are the same. I'm going to pull that out. Again, don't lose the 2. And what's left? 3a minus 5. If you FOIL these two and then distribute the 2, you will end up back where we started. It does not matter if you write 2 times 3a minus 5 times a minus 1. The order, remember multiplication is commutative, the order doesn't matter.